Hi there. I'm just going to begin to share our slides in 1 second. Before I do so, I just wanted to say thank you for being here today. I hope you are all doing well and taking care of yourself. We've seen some difficult times with COVID around the world, but we've also seen some difficult times with the weather. A lot of people have truly been suffering, especially in Europe. And I know that a few of our participants today are from Europe. So I trust you are doing okay. Now let's hop right in. I'm going to start sharing my slides and we will kick off. Just waiting a moment to get it. There we are. So this education mini summit will be focused on 3 topics, but before we discuss that, I'm going to display our antitrust policy notice as usual. If you want to read our full antitrust policy, you can do on the website. And of course, if you're from a Linux Foundation member company, you can talk to our counsel, Andy Up de Grove. Jumping straight in, here are the 4 items for our agenda: our recent online courses, the future of our playbooks, the evolution of our reference library, and future work group leadership. Balakrishna, our chair, is on the line, of course, and I'll be handing over to him to lead the discussion on each item. So Balakrishna, shall I take us into the first item so you can begin covering it with people?
Hi, Shane. Good morning. Yeah, sounds good. Hi, everyone. Good morning.
All right. I just made one note on the work you've all done on the online courses. LF Training said they've got some of the best feedback of all the courses.
That's awesome. If we could publish it somewhere, I think that would be even great. Just as an email or something.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, welcome everyone for the mini education summit we have today. And thank you for joining. And yeah, as you can see, in the past 1 year, we have launched, not even 1 year, in less than 1 year, we have launched 2 OpenChain supported or 2 open source courses, which would help us with compliance management, and they're majorly based on OpenChain reference material, what we had in the GitHub of OpenChain. And as Shane and other LF colleagues also say, that we have got really good response on the course. We have got good feedback, and I see every day at least 1 or 2 of my connections are displaying their certificates on clearing 193 or 194. So it seems like it is reaching good number of audience. Of course, it's taking time to reach audience. 194 is reaching faster in comparison to 193, but it's never too late, right? Yeah. So congratulations to all of us, and huge thank you to Shane, Martin, and Yari, who helped the group form this course, and then launch it in good time. And also thanks to the technical team who helped design the course, that is Magdalena, who reviewed the course, designed the course, and then helped us launch it as well. So thanks to all of them. Anything you would like to add here, Martin, Yari, Shane?
I think one note I just add, Balakrishna, is that it sure was not easy turning the slides into completed online courses. So it was a huge lift on your side and for the other people working on the team, like Martin and Gary, of course. So I guess one lesson learned we have is that using slides as our starting point is probably not ideal, perhaps for the future. Perhaps if we develop future courses, we should start with documents and then build slides or courses out of them. Just an idea. What do you think?
Yes, it actually sounds perfect. I think that's what we should do with our future courses as well. I hope this doesn't stop here. And just to add a note, add one more note here that this will not remain as it is developed today and deployed. We have a technical debt, we have a moral debt on creating these courses. So time to time we need to upgrade these courses. We cannot let them go stale, and we will try our best being part of OpenChain education team, right? I hope all of you will also support every other member in the team to continue the same thing. Let's keep this course organic, and any other references that's coming out of OpenChain and OpenChain education team, or any other work group for that matter, right? And moving on to the next slide.
Yes, of course, playbooks. Now, this is an interesting topic.
Thank you. Yeah. As you all know, Playbook was also kicked off during the last December. Shane and few of our other contributors successfully launched the Playbook for Medium company. It speaks, more about how do we handle open source compliance end to end in a real life scenario, or a simulated real life scenario. I think that would be a better point added here. And since Shane worked on it extensively, I think Shane can add more points here. Before I hand it over to Shane to talk about the playbook, we are planning to continue the playbook for small and large companies, and then release those parts of simulated preferences this year. And Shane, over to you.
Yeah, of course. So as Balakrishna indicated, this playbook was the first part of something we wanted to do more with. And the idea is pretty simple. We have a lot of reference material and we have a standard, and all of that is wonderful. But we still have companies who aren't sure how to use the reference material. And this tends to be companies without sophisticated process management. So often smaller companies, but not exclusively. Sometimes large companies have existing processes, but no process to evolve into new processes. People get stuck. And the idea of the playbooks was to try to give people a non-prescriptive way to understand an option or options around how to implement OpenChain. Now, in doing this, we had a difficult needle to thread. We had a challenge because we wanted to make the playbook descriptive of how a company could do something, but we wanted to avoid it being descriptive of what a company should do. And we've always been nervous about companies feeling pushed into a corner, that they have to take a very specific process approach to use OpenChain or to do open source compliance. We need companies to be able to be really flexible. So building this first playbook, we were excited because we knew the market needed it, but we were also concerned because we weren't quite sure if people would end up thinking that we were being prescriptive. And we worked really hard on trying to make sure that didn't happen. The good news is we've never had any negative feedback from the license playbook approach. No one has said that OpenChain is pressuring them into doing something. No one is feeling that it's too prescriptive that we know of. And we're relatively happy with that. However, in using the medium-sized company playbook, we also played it super safe. We chose the type of company that probably has time to make processes, but has the most process flexibility. So now we need to do the more difficult thing and create playbooks for small and large companies that keep the same non-prescriptive atmosphere and fill the larger gap in the market. Particularly smaller companies probably need help. It can be really fun to do this. The first playbook was, you're describing how a company does something. You get to be inventive. You get to think outside the box a little. But we need to do it. we know that companies want these. We know that the market wants it. We know we have probably a good approach. The only question is, how do we start the playbook project for small and large companies? What timescales do we have? And before I hand over to Balakrishna to get his final thoughts on this, I just wanted to say that last time, I think it took us about 1 quarter to draft and edit a playbook and feel happy with it. So if we choose to do these 2 playbooks, I think end of year delivery would probably be our most realistic target. Balakrishna, over to you.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you for all the details. And yes, you're right. We should target it for end of the year release, probably before the Japan summit, just like last year, if we can target for that. And to add one more point to the playbooks, yes, it's quite an interesting time to work on these playbooks as well, because there are 2 parts, 2 interesting factors here with respect to working on small and large company playbooks. As we know, most of the large companies who are very well known across the globe, they have an extensive and beautiful open source practices already there. And many of them are also ISO certified, right? We already have them OpenChain conformed or ISO certified. They have conformed to, across their organization. And we can contact them and then take their best opinions or best practices and make a non-prescriptive playbook out of it, like a reference. So that is a different part of excitement where we get to see best of all worlds, and then create a simulation out of it. And even better thing that excites me personally is the small company playbooks. The reason is we are living at the age and time where there are more number of small companies which are worth $1 billion than the total number of medium companies and large companies put together today, because we are living in the age of startup, right? And they are also, just because of their valuation, they are also more prone to these trolls, copyright trolls or patent trolls. So probably, and we all know they do not have enough time to invest towards source compliance yet, because they're concentrating more on their products and their valuation, etc., which can build their image, right? If we can make the playbook something very easily understandable for them, and make it lucrative enough that they get to implement it and they understand that they don't have to worry about the trolls, then the entire thought itself is a little exciting for me. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. So moving on to the next topic.
Oh, okay. On we go. Our reference library. Oh, this is exciting, because our reference library has tons of documents, but there's feedback that our community has matured beyond the point where we have people who don't feel comfortable with using GitHub. And it might be time for us to start a conversion project of taking our documents and turning them into Markdown, making it easier to edit, and then Markdown can export into the other formats. Balakrishna, I think you and I talked briefly about this one-to-one as well, and you seemed pretty positive about the concept.
Yes, Shane. So the reason is one of the reasons why I was excited about turning it into Markdown was if some education organization. So my intention and my thoughts when we were having this discussion was, if in case an educational organization or an educational platform would like to use these reference materials as it is or adapt into their existing references without making much modifications, having them on Markdown would be very easy for them to adapt and bring it on to their platform. So that was one exciting part for me. Yeah, and one more thing is, it makes it more machine friendly, wherein there won't be any dependency of how can I say, if if we maintain it in .txt format or .doc format, there is always a problem with one or the other editor jumbling up the format of it, or how it looks and feels. So with Markdown, it's not going to change much. And then we have a lot of open source readers which would keep the look and feel of the articles also quite easy on the eyes. So that's my opinion on it.
That's a really good point, Balakrishna. And perhaps I think everyone on the call is probably aware, but in case you're not, the interesting thing with Markdown nowadays is that so many tools support it that, as Balakrishna said, moving it around into different formats is extremely simple. And perhaps we can say that today, Markdown not only has the inherent flexibility to be shifted into different formats easily, but it has the tooling to do it for non-technical people. So it's pretty easy to use, and it might help overcome one of our challenges, which is that we have over 1,000 documents in our reference library, and browsing through them is nowadays hindered by the fact that you keep running into documents that you might need to download to review. There's a really strong historical reason for this. Our community started with lawyers and management, basically. It started with people who are addressing the supply chain from a legal procurement side, saying, how do we increase trust? And their day-to-day work at that time was focused on essentially things like PowerPoint slide decks, which obviously wasn't a perfect fit for storing on GitHub, but it was the reality of where we started in 2016. And we needed to be where our audience was, not where we would like to see an ideal from a technical perspective. But our audience has matured, and our reference library is fantastic but hard to parse. So it seems like this could be a really good initiative to have in the second half of this year alongside the Playbook initiative. And what's really interesting about this is that an individual volunteer can take a document, convert it to Markdown, do a pull request, and that's it. We're done. We've got something in play. So it's very suitable for distributed non-linear editing, so everyone can work at their own pace and in their own time zone. My suggestion is that we do basically a call to action for the small and large playbooks to gather the audience for each one that wants to work on them. And we do a call to action for library conversion to Markdown. And we have calls on both of those topics running throughout the year, so people can choose their favorite topic and work on it. What do you think, Balakrishna? Could that work in your perspective?
Sounds great, Shane. I think it should work, and at least until we get the balls rolling, we should have some sort of recurring meetings. After that, I think it would be quite organic, since we already have the same experience with the LF courses. Once the balls are rolling and then we have a good momentum, we can even reduce the call frequencies or the recurrence of the calls, and then continue rest of the objectives over emails.
A really good point. Now, we've had some comments in the chat, and most of them I've left to return to at any other business, but I saw one from Yari directly related to what we're talking at this moment, which is, should we have Markdown documents to web pages for some material to help people find them? Yari, I think that's a great idea. If we did that, for example, we could store our specification with Markdown to web page, and people can very easily find it. And I think that could be a useful thing to do. Right now, if someone wants our specification, they get pointed to the PDF version. So this might be an ideal way to improve discoverability. What do you think, Balakrishna?
Yeah, that's actually great. And it would be more easy to read as well, in multiple machines. For example, when I'm using my Ubuntu machine, it gets really crazy for me to read my PDFs over there with a lot of links and other things. The reason because I don't use Adobe over there. And yeah, this would help a lot.
That's, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so we have a basic concept then that our playbooks and our library update will run under call to actions to bring in people from the community that are interested as we go. Now, the next item is something I'm super excited about. Balakrishna talked about this with me, and also on our board level, parallel, we've been talking about this concept of how to address the fact that this should be a multi-decade project and people will rotate in and out. So the topic is sustainable leadership. And Balakrishna suggested that education could be the first case of one of our work groups in OpenChain, introducing something like a chair election to support sustainability. Balakrishna, I'll hand over to you for the idea because, well, it's your idea.
Thank you, Shane. And yes, this is a really fun thing to do, I might say. When a new person is leading a group, or a new person is leading an activity, we always get new ideas, right? It's for example, if we take any organization that's been established for years and years, and then every time there's a new CEO, you get to see that there are new products that come into line, or the company takes up new niche technology into the organization, or they come up with completely bizarre idea which creates a disruption across the world. So that was the idea when I suggested the same thing to Shane. I had my some of my ideas when we initially proposed that we need to have an education group for OpenChain. Shane also had the thought from quite a long time, and then when I proposed this, since we had the like mind, he said, "Why don't you run the education board and be chair of the education board for the time, and contribute whatever you are wishing for." And we anyway have good contributors in the team. There are a lot of volunteers who will step up, and the same thing happened, and we successfully had a lot of material that came out of it, right? And now what I wish to do is I wish to work with other chairs or other leaders who would take up this activity and then come up with their own ideas, wherein it's a constant learning process, right? And then I'll get to see what I missed out on these many days, what I couldn't think of. I get to learn that from the new leadership within the work groups. That's the reason I suggested this. And yeah, I think election for this activity would be a great idea.
And of course, it would fit well into what we probably need to do across the whole project, to make sure that everyone has a chance to take a break or just introduce new blood. And as Balakrishna said, to keep everything fresh and sustainable. Personally, I love the idea. And, as Balakrishna indicated, he's interested in new blood. He's not he's not someone who wants to see the education work group runs silent, which is exactly, I think, the mentality that will allow us to have a long-term project. So the proposal is that we have a election for the education work group later this quarter. And in Q4, that can help inspire all the other work groups where chairs think, oh, it could be good to rotate. We can bring in some new people. But we wanted to run it by you all first and to get your perspectives if you have anything to share. Okay, then as usual, silence equals complete agreement. Balakrishna, it's really exciting that this work group, one of our youngest, actually gets to pioneer the election format. It's a relatively small work group, which means that we'll probably have a very smooth election and it can inspire the other work groups to do the same. So I just have to say thank you for coming up with the suggestion and the idea. And I'm looking forward to working with you on this quarter to get this election done.
Definitely, Shane, we can do that. And one more interesting factor or an example we can quote here is the inner source group. They keep changing their leaders very often, right? And even they have an election format over there. I had a wonderful opportunity of working with two inner source leaders in the past, and looking at them, it just gets me more excited that things can be as fresh and new all the time when we have the chairs changing.
Yep.
Yes, so
That,
that's all from my side. Anything from anything anyone else would like to add?
there's just the comments are going in the chat, but they're focused on the items for, I guess, our next output. So it looks like everyone feels really comfortable with this proposal, which is excellent, and we'll go ahead with it.
Awesome.
So the last item is any other business, where we'll capture the comments. The first one that came up is Yari asked, if we're working on course materials, should we use Google Docs? Should we use Microsoft Office Online? Balakrishna noted that Google Docs is good, but sometimes can't be accessed in some regions. For some people, Office Online has some license issues. So it seems that we might need to think this one through carefully.
Yeah.
I don't immediately have any great solution for this. Balakrishna, I just wanted to see if you've got any thoughts to add to it.
Neither do I, Shane. So this is something which we really need to think about.
Yeah,
One lingering thought in my head is probably we can go the empty way for this as well, but then that would take longer to complete a course.
that's a really good point. Yeah, we're going to have to ask around again and see what we can do.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a next thing which came up, which was Martin said that he plans to turn our first education course into a series of small videos, which is very cool. And this initiative, Martin, would just be a fantastic addition to the ecosystem. So what can I say? It's great, and it's inherently enabled by the fact that everything we release is CC0, so people can do whatever they want.
Yeah, and if you could show us how to do it, probably we can think of helping you out, because I really have no idea how to do this.
That's such a good point. And Yari, oh, sorry, Martin, over to you.
I was just going to say that's just on the to-do list at the moment. It's very low priority.
Your audio is really low. It's very hard to hear.
Sorry, let me put it a bit closer. Sorry, it's quite early here, so and I'm working from home, so I'm trying not to talk too much. Yeah, I was just saying it's just something I plan to do. It's low priority, but yeah, I was planning to potentially share what I've done for at least to show the group at some point. But it'll take a few months at least, I think.
That's fantastic. Martin, if you're able to share your journey on that, it would be great. And I saw Yari shared a link from Inner Source Commons about small video concepts. So it looks like there's some stuff we can learn from our peers out there. The next any other business item I saw is Steve said for larger company playbooks, there's a bunch of use case documents from companies. So maybe we can get those companies to help us fill out the more generic playbook approach by contributing some descriptions. That's a really good idea, Steve. That might be the ideal shortcut to getting the large company playbook done as quickly as possible. So maybe we can ask companies like Toyota to, send us a few notes. I love that idea.
Yep. Sounds like a great idea, yes.
Well, unless there's any other business, we've accomplished all of our items in a very quick and efficient time. We've got call to action for playbooks, call to action for reference library, and we've got some exciting things like new videos being proposed. Oh, Yari noted SAP published some blog posts about their OpenChain conformance. Okay, that's a good point. So maybe we'll go to Toyota and SAP, SAP, and talk to them about this for the large company playbook.
Okay, awesome. And Shane, we'll send out an email for those playbook and reference material conversion. That should be fine, right?
Yes, absolutely. Let's arrange that. Let's do it. Maybe we coordinate offline and then we go to the lists with proposed schedules and so on. And I can work with our PM to have a series of calls set up to help everything run smoothly.
Sounds great. Thank you.
And we are finished. Balakrishna, thank you so much for your leadership up to this point, and also your forthcoming leadership in helping to pioneer elections in the OpenChain work groups. You've just been a fantastic contributor, and everyone else on the call, thank you too. You've done something remarkable with limited time and resources.
Yes. Shane, one last point I would like to add. I mean, it's not a point, it's more of a query. For LFC 193, we got the course developer batch. And we have not got that for LFC 194. And I had told Yari and Martin we will be getting that, and then we didn't get it. So will we be getting the batch?
We absolutely should be. So I'll go to LF training right away and ask what's going on with the course badge.
Yep. Thank you.
That's weird. I think they might have had an oversight there. I'll go fix it.
Oh, awesome.
You can hear me typing.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for following that. And thank you.
Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.